What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday? Happy to have everybody along. We're going to have a hard conversation about a Titans first-round pick who is not living up to really any expectations, and he's forcing Mike Vrabel to make a lose-lose decision with the Titans secondary. Yeah, we're talking about Caleb Farley today on this Tuesday. The Titans did win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday for the first time this season, but Caleb Farley only played one defensive snap, and Terrence Mitchell played a lot of defensive snaps and gave up a whole lot of yards to Raiders receivers. So we're going to discuss what Mike Vrabel said about Caleb Farley, what is going on with Caleb Farley looking forward with this season, because there's 14 games left, and the Titans are going to need Caleb Farley to get a lot better in the immediacy to help them try to win the AFC South. So we'll discuss that. Zach actually saw updated odds from BetMGM on who's going to win the AFC South, and the Titans are no longer second with those odds. But we'll discuss a lot with Caleb Farley there. Before we turn to Tuesday sports trivia, we crushed last week with a 9-1 trivia week with really, really good Bible trivia. So we'll see how we can do today. We're at 70% clip through 2 weeks after a bad first week. So let's have week 3 be better for trivia. So Zach, welcome in. Let's get rocking and rolling on this Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going space trivia. I don't know if you, I took astronomy in college, and last night was the closest Jupiter has been to our Earth in 59 years. You could actually see Jupiter. I got, your dad always had binoculars just because that was the thing, because they didn't have huge, $1 million jumbotrons when you went to sporting events.
Yes.
Got the old binoculars out, and you could actually see Jupiter has 4 moons. You could see some specks that were the actual moons. And so we're going to do a little space trivia today.
You went outside and looked at Jupiter last night?
I did.
I did not.
And I told a couple of people to do that.
Well, you didn't tell me. I was staying inside.
I didn't know if you were deep into the astronomy game.
I'm not necessarily deep in astronomy.
you don't see it'd be like me being like, you got to watch this movie.
I'm not deep into astronomy, but I would have appreciated seeing Jupiter. My backyard has a great view. I can see both dippers. I can see Orion's belt a lot of times from my backyard. So I probably could have seen Jupiter.
So we've got space trivia at the end of this show. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. That's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We've got you hooked up. We'll tweet out segment by segment those YouTube links on our Twitter at A to Z Sports. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube page. Search A to Z Sports Nashville on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We've got great content going out there. Not just an exclusive content that you don't always see on our Instagram or on our Facebook. So lock into our YouTube page and subscribe there. You can also subscribe to A to Z Sports Film Room, where we break down NFL film each and every week with our film specialist, James Foster. That's also a great subscription on YouTube. Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? Bottom left corner of your screen. Share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. We've got you covered on Facebook, that's for sure, as we push to 100,000 followers, and we cruise closer and closer to that each and every week, each and every day. So share the show. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. More people are going to be piling in. Let's get this party started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media, because we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Make sure you hit up a link to the show on our Twitter timeline, on Instagram. Hit us up on TikTok as well. Right there, A to Z Sports Nashville. We got to thank our sponsors, because they truly make it happen for us, and they help out you guys, starting with Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage, rates, and service. FBHP.com/ATOZ, and Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them for a free case consultation at 800-800-4600. So, Zach, yesterday was a Victory Monday, and we treated it as such. We talked mostly about the positives and the Titans getting their first win of the season to 1-2. I mentioned the BetMGM odds to win the AFC South. The Colts still the favorites at 1-1-1. The Jags have now leapt the Titans at plus 220, and then the Titans are third at plus 280. Now the Texans are in the, they're basically where Jupiter is at plus 3,300. So the Texans are far away. But, now the Titans are not exactly even second for the AFC South crown. But the big story of Monday's Mike Vrabel press conference was the topic of Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley, a first-round pick from 2021, tore his ACL as a rookie against the Bills after having a lot of back procedures in college and before the draft. And really, when you look at training camp, was preliminarily the starter at left corner opposite Christian Fulton for the most of camp. We got beat up by Roger McCreary. Then he's been beat out since then by guys like Ugo Amadi, Josh Kalu, Trey Avery, Lonnie Johnson, and Terrence Mitchell. And so it's interesting that Caleb Farley went from playing or potentially being a starter before the season began to playing just 28% of snaps in week 1. He played 72% of the snaps in week 2 against Buffalo, and then 1%, just one defensive snap against the Las Vegas Raiders. Before we hear from Mike Vrabel, how interesting was it to you that Farley got demoted so much so quickly?
Well, I don't think it was necessarily interesting. Like as you just said, he's had this slow fall. It's not just like a snap starter to bench, right? Like you've seen this progression over the last couple of months. I mean, that's just what it has been. And, it's unfortunate because when you draft a player in the first round, the Titans' first round draft picks have been terrible. I mean, and that's putting it lightly. I mean, you have Jeffrey Simmons, who has been good, who has been great, excuse me.
Yes.
But there's not a lot of other guys that have been good. Rashad Evans was not good. Isaiah Wilson was not good. Caleb Farley has not been good. The Jack Conklins of the world that are debatable, but overall, they've been really bad first-round picks. And Corey Davis, as a number 5 overall pick in the NFL draft, was not good.
Yeah, and Ryan says, who's more of a bust, Farley or Adoree'? I mean, Ryan, are you come on. Adoree' Jackson was so much better than Caleb Farley. Caleb Farley can't even get on the field. Adoree' Jackson in year 4 had a weird injury that got him cut. Like, that's a stupid question.
That's actually kind of why that's exactly where I was going, because I said Corey Davis in that same draft.
Yeah.
They drafted Adoree' Jackson out of USC. They picked up his 5th-year option and then cut him because of the unique situation of that rule on that particular year. For Adoree', you saw him last night. I mean, he's starting. He's playing a lot up in there in New York, and he was featured multiple times on the broadcast, whether you're watching Joe Buck and Troy Aikman or the Manning cast. And now I kind of am struggling because I've got to flip back and forth. I like Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. I'm not one of those Joe Buck haters, but I really like the Manning cast. I don't want to watch Bob Greasy or Brian Greasy last year, Bob Greasy's son. That was an easy switch over, right? Because those broadcasters stunk. They featured Adoree' Jackson a couple of times last night for the Cowboys-Giants game. And so, you look at all of, John Robinson's history, his first-round picks have not been good yet another time in a crucial year. That was a huge storyline going into this season, that is if this defense was going to live up to expectations. Since Harold Landry tore his ACL, those expectations have lowered a little bit, right? Because when you lose that type of player, they have to go down. But if they were going to stay at that level, it was going to be because of their cornerback play, because you're playing against a passing league in this era of football, a lot of good quality quarterbacks that can torch you. You need good defensive backs. Caleb Farley has not been a good defensive back.
Yeah, he has not been. And Donald says letting Adoree' go is looking like a mistake. But then Bobby, I agree with Bobby, says Adoree' also just didn't get along with the coaches, Titans coaching staff. And it seemed like
they needed to move on.
Right. Both sides need to move on from there after Adoree' Jackson's 4th year went really wrong with a bunch of injuries. But Zach, let's go ahead and get to Mike Vrabel, because Mike Vrabel was asked 4 minutes of press conference time which is a lot of time for a press conference to have 4 consecutive minutes all about one player. So I've come down to the 3 most important answers that Mike Vrabel gave about Caleb Farley and what happened on Sunday, with Farley only playing 1 snap and Terrence Mitchell playing all the others, basically. Here's Mike Vrabel yesterday.
You're seeing some things from him in practice, and it's not showing up on game day?
Well, I mean, I think that there's been some growth there, and, we're going to continue to give him opportunities and make sure that he's, ready to go and that he's competing each and every week for that opportunity to play, continue to help us on special teams. And, we just all have to get comfortable in doing our jobs and making sure that, we're understanding the call, we're understanding what the concept is, what it is that we're trying to get done. And whether you're playing pass rusher, you're playing a inside linebacker or corner, and just making sure that whatever that call is, that it's getting executed and that everybody's focused on doing their job.
What do you look for during the week, though, Mike, as you do evaluate?
Just an overall understanding. We don't have that many reps. Wednesday was a walkthrough, but, there's certainly things that we would look for is, the ability to be able to match up, be able to understand what the zone coverage responsibilities are, the ability to play the correct leverage. And those are all things that we look for.
Wanting to have confidence in the guy that's out there to execute, and then also wanting to get a guy like Caleb who hasn't played a ton of football, that development in live game reps, and where does that balance lie for you when you make those personnel decisions?
I think that's just something that we have to look at each and every week, and hopefully that we can have a full week of practice and have a competition and see who, is going to be the guy that's going to go out and play for us, and what the rotation may look like.
So there's Mike Vrabel yesterday. A lot of that, via the Titans there, but a lot of stuff to unpack. But Zach, I think it's pretty simple. The Titans don't trust Caleb Farley to execute the scheme, the coverages, and to know what to do mentally. They don't worry about Caleb Farley's physical ability because he can run, he can jump, he's long, he's strong, he can hit, all these things, right? He can cut. They are so worried about Caleb Farley knowing what to do on every snap. They don't trust his ability to understand the defense. I mean, in the first 2 questions that you heard, or first 2 answers from Mike Vrabel, was all about understanding your job on every particular play. So Caleb Farley not being able to understand what his job needs to be on every play has forced Vrabel into a lose-lose decision, because he is probably your most overall athletic guy out there, especially at corner. Like, the guy is a freak athlete, but he doesn't know what to do, which makes him a liability. And if you don't know what to do, you can't play him. So what do you have to do on a short week? Because Vrabel said it there too. Wednesday was a walkthrough practice after a Monday night road game, a Wednesday walkthrough to get ready for a must-win home game on Sunday. The Titans could not afford to allow Caleb Farley's mental breaks and mental errors to put them in an 0-3 hole. So what they did is they signed a 30-year-old Terrence Mitchell, who had played in the NFL for 8 years, to plug and play to help them not go to 0-3. Now, why it's a lose-lose decision is because Terrence Mitchell was objectively awful against the Raiders on Sunday, and the Titans almost lost because of that. But that's the situation. They don't trust Farley to make the right mental decisions in the game.
Well, you brought up Terrence Mitchell, and he was on, honestly, for most of the game, he was on Matt Collins. At that final play, you have a 5'11" corner instead of a 6'2" corner going up against a fade route in the end zone against a 6'4" wide receiver. And you saw what happened. 5'11" ain't ever going to out-jump, out-reach, out-catch a 6'4" Matt Collins.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And we saw that to get them closer, 2 points from a tie. And that's what cost them, right? That's a personnel discrepancy. And I do agree with you. I think Mike Vrabel has said this. I think we've talked throughout the last 6 months. If you watch this show, A to Z Sports, every single solitary time that we talk about Caleb Farley, we mention that he hasn't played a lot of football. I mean, that's like, he hasn't played a lot of football. Oh, he's very physically gifted, but he hasn't played a lot of football. And he hasn't played a lot of football because of his time and his injury struggle with his back procedures at Virginia Tech. That was one of the reasons why he fell into the draft, and the Titans took him like they've taken so many other high draft picks with injury, because they feel that that is not necessarily a bad thing and that you can work that out. We saw that successful with Jeffrey Simmons, but it's not always successful with every single player. And then he tears his ACL. So now you are working double behind the 8 ball going into a second year in the NFL when your first round pick still has not played a lot of football. And you know what is hard? Last week, 2 days ago, Caleb Farley didn't play a lot of football.
Yeah, and that's it. So I want to react to some of your comments, and we have a question about Caleb Farley too. But Zach, I want you to tell everybody about our great friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your free health assessment and your free quote. I got my health assessment. It took me about 25 minutes, answered a bunch of questions openly and honestly. They gave me a quote, and then that's when my eyes opened. I said, wow, this health plan kicks my old health plan's ass. I mean, that's just straight fact, homie. 20% each and every month I saved because I switched to Farm Bureau Health Plans. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I did not. We signed the partnership deal with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and they're like, well, we're going to find out. I was like, well, I found out pretty quick. I said, this makes so much sense. Better coverage, better service, better rates. That's what they told me before I even signed up, and I got all three. Better service, better coverage, better rates, 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. That's FBHP.com/A to Z. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
All right. Also, download the BetMGM app, and you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with your first bet after your first deposit. That's a great deal to jump on board the BetMGM train. So BetMGM is where to go to have a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with your first bet on pro football. Zach, I wanted to react to some comments about Caleb Farley, because I did see, my whole point is Caleb Farley has put Mike Vrabel in a lose-lose decision because he doesn't trust Farley to make the right mental decisions on the field when it comes to understanding the scheme, understanding what they're supposed to do on any given play. So when the Titans are staring 0-3 in the face, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders, also staring 0-3 in the face, Mike Vrabel says, I can't let this first-round potential guy who hasn't played a lot of football put me in an 0-3 hole where I only have a 2.5% chance to make the playoffs. I need to go sign somebody who knows what to do. Even if they're not as highly talented, at least he knows what to do. So they go sign Terrence Mitchell off the Patriots practice squad, who is 30 years old. The Titans are his 7th NFL team. He knows what to do, but he was a 7th-round draft pick. And so there's obviously a difference in talent of a first-round draft pick and a 7th-round draft pick. There's like 230 draft pick difference between where Mitchell went and where Farley went. But he knew where to be. And if you look at what Terrence Mitchell gave up against Matt Collins, he was there. Like, he was in the vicinity. He just did not have the physical ability to make the play over a tall, big receiver like Collins. And so at least Mitchell was in the area where you don't know where Caleb Farley might or might not be. So you had to go do something. Like, Mike Vrabel felt that he had to go get somebody who would at least know where to be, even if they didn't have the traits to make the play in the right spot.
Well, still bad income, right? Or outcome, excuse me.
Yeah.
That in that situation, if you're a professional cornerback that was drafted in the first round and you're telling me that you can't sub in one play to get a better matchup on a guy who's about to body a corner that's just 5-6 inches shorter than him, you're screwed, right? Like that, if that is the actual case, and Mike Vrabel did say a lot in that clip, and more people have piled in. So I don't know if you want to play that again, but he basically does say that there's not a lot of trust. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give the love of the show out to Kay Curry, because Kay brings up this point that I think, and we'll hear basically Mike Vrabel say what Kay is saying. Scheme over skills smells like the Patriot way. That's what he's telling you, because if he doesn't trust a first-round pick to understand the scheme and the philosophy and the technique and what is being coached of said player, he cannot play said player.
Yeah, so let's hear Vrabel again, because he talks specifically about why Caleb Farley only played 1 snap on Sunday and Terrence Mitchell played 53.
You're seeing certain things from him in practice, and it's not showing up on game day.
Well, I mean, I think that there's been some growth there, and we're going to continue to give him opportunities and make sure that he's ready to go and that he's competing each and every week for that opportunity to play. Continue to help us on special teams, and we just all have to get comfortable in doing our jobs and making sure that we're understanding the call, we're understanding what the concept is, what it is that we're trying to get done, and whether you're playing pass rusher, you're playing a inside linebacker or corner, and just making sure that whatever that call is, that it's getting executed, and that everybody's focused on doing their job.
What do you look for during the week, though, Mike, as you do evaluate?
Just an overall understanding. We don't have that many reps. Wednesday was a walkthrough, but there's certainly things that we would look for is the ability to be able to match up, be able to understand what the zone coverage responsibilities are, the ability to play the correct leverage. And those are all things that we look for.
Wanting to have confidence in the guy that's out there to execute, and then also wanting to get a guy like Caleb who hasn't played a ton of football, that development in live game reps, and where does that balance lie for you when you make those personnel decisions?
I think that's just something that we have to look at each and every week, and hopefully that we can have a full week of practice and have a competition and see who is going to be the guy that's going to go out and play for us, and what the rotation may look like.
Mike
Have a
Vrabel,
competition, Austin, just right there. Are you telling me that a guy off the streets comes in there named Terrence Mitchell and beats out Caleb Farley in a couple of days?
No, yes, that's what I'm telling. It's crazy, but like I'm not saying I agree with it, but I understand where Mike Vrabel is coming from. That there is not enough trust in Caleb Farley right now in a must-win game. There's not, because let's look at the Giants game, right? Because the Bills game was different because the Titans were dealing with injuries in the secondary. But against the Giants, Christian Fulton, 100% of the snaps. Roger McCreary, 98% of the snaps. Ugo Amadi, 63% of the snaps. Farley played 28%. So 4th when it comes to guys playing either outside or inside corner. Against the Bills, there was no Christian Fulton. Ugo Amadi got hurt in the second quarter, right? So McCreary played 99%. Farley played 72%. So he goes from 4th to 2nd in 1 week because of guys being out. Then Josh Kalu, Trey Avery, Chris Jackson, and Lonnie Johnson all also played a bunch of snaps. They were just rotating guys in there to just get beat. Basically, it didn't matter who it was. If it was Farley, Kalu, Avery, Chris Jackson, or Lonnie Johnson, all 5 of those guys were getting smoked against the Bills on Monday Night Football a week ago. And then you go back, Fulton comes back in, right? And so what happens? Caleb Farley drops all the way down. And I think the short week of practice and the disaster that was the Bills game and Ugo Amadi was also out again. So that put Farley down, and the need to go sign a veteran 30-year-old guy who at least knew what to do was a high priority, because Terrence Mitchell played the 3rd most amount of snaps when it comes to outside or inside corners behind Fulton and McCreary.
So I'll ask kind of the question that Sam, our Titans reporter, asked there at the end to you, and ask, how do you weigh that? A guy that you don't trust because he doesn't have experience, gaining experience, but you don't trust him.
Yeah, well, you can't do it when you have to win a game to avoid 0-3.
Yeah, 1-2 against a division rival.
Yeah, now you've got the Colts game that you got to win that one too. So I don't expect to see a bunch of Caleb Farley this week on Sunday in Indianapolis. I mean, do you do it against the Washington Commanders if you get to 2-2? I mean, where's
You don't want to drop down to 2-3.
no?
They got
no.
Terry McLaurin too.
Yes, but I think the health of the other corner players, like inside and outside guys, are big in this, because guess who is also eligible to come off of IR in week 5 against Washington? That would be Elijah Molden. So ideally, here's what the Titans have. If Elijah Molden comes back healthy, now you got Fulton and McCreary on the outside, Elijah Molden on the inside. And if you need to go dime, then you move McCreary on the inside and put in Farley. But if Ugo Amadi comes back, maybe you just leave Farley on the sideline and you play Ugo and Molden in the slot and McCreary and the Fulton on the outside.
So we're going to keep saying that Caleb Farley hadn't played a lot of football. That's what you're telling me.
And Paul says after the bye week, because after the Washington game, there is a bye week. The early bye week might be a benefit for Caleb Farley, because I said this at the very top of the show. The Titans need Caleb Farley to grow up. They need him. He's too athletic to be standing on the sideline and only being a blocker on punt returns.
But some players can't. And I'm not saying that this is Caleb Farley, but some players just cannot. Like, they can't get it. It doesn't click. It mentally, like Taywan Taylor was a great example. Taywan Taylor mentally, they couldn't trust him, so they traded him away to the Browns. And Taywan, we've never really seen him again.
No.
Right? Like, sometimes you cannot. And that, I think, is the scary part for this first-round pick, because they're starting to stack up first-round picks that aren't on the team anymore. And that is not a way to structure a football team. And that's how the Titans work. That's kind of why I don't think that the Titans, I think that they have a lower ceiling. I've stated that. I thought at the beginning of the season that they were going to struggle in general, because their philosophy and concept goes against what great football teams in this league have proven works. Rely on your talent, right? And if you cannot rely on your talent, or refuse to rely on your talent, or your talent is a liability, your goose is cooked.
But Zach, and somebody else brought it up, and I believe you gave them the love of the show, that the Titans are going the Patriot way, right?
Correct, but this is different. They don't have Tom Brady.
Right.
Like,
but
that does matter.
Zach, but on defense, it's not different. To Mike Vrabel, it doesn't mean anything. It's not different. It's because the Titans, how many times have we seen the Titans value their scheme over the talent? That's why Cody Hollister plays, because Cody Hollister knows the scheme. Cody Hollister doesn't have much talent compared to other NFL wide receivers. I mean, the guy's talented enough to be on an NFL roster, don't get me wrong, but he's not that. He's limited. But the Titans value Cody Hollister because of their scheme.
Right. Well, look, and the whole A.J. Brown trade, like, if they really truly valued the talent, they would not have traded A.J. Brown away. They would not have done it. They would have taken the same concept that the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks took with their respected wide receivers. That is an example.
Right.
That is an example.
Right. And so again, this Titans coaches staff values
front office.
And yes, but it's more about, I think it's more about the coaching staff. Like Terrence Mitchell over Caleb Farley is a Mike Vrabel telling John Robinson, go get me a corner who's played in this league that I can trust against the Raiders.
Yes.
They can do the right thing. Go get me somebody who knows what to do. Go find the
not caring about talent.
Yes. I don't care. He just knows what to do. He can come in here on a Wednesday and knows where to be. I need that guy, John. And Terrence Mitchell was that guy. It didn't go very well. Hence the title of the show, Caleb Farley has forced Mike Vrabel into a lose-lose situation. So let's ask this question, because I do think it's important. Are you in or out on Caleb Farley living up to his first-round potential? Are you in or out on Caleb Farley living up to his first round potential. It's not that many games into his career. So I'm very curious to see how this goes. But first, I'm going to tell everybody about Hughes and Coleman. And if you have been injured in a car wreck, there's one place you should call. That is Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers at 800-800-4600. You call them at that number and you get a free case consultation. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers are the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans, and they've recovered literally over $1 billion for their clients in the state of Tennessee and also in Kentucky. So they can do the same thing for you and go and fight up against the insurance company so you don't have to. That's Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers. Call them today for a free case consultation if you've been injured in a car wreck at 800-800-4600, principal office in Nashville, Tennessee.
BetMGM, they power our show. They can power your pocketbook with the right bets. Risk-free bet up to $1,000, $1,000 for new users. Use the promo code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ SPORTS, all one word, no spaces in the promo code tab. When you sign up, your new user, risk-free bet up to $1,000. Download the BetMGM app today.
All right, so we're asking the question, are you in or out on Caleb Farley reaching his potential as a first-round draft pick? On Twitter, I just see somebody say, been out since the day he was drafted. Hope he proves me wrong. I see Justin and somebody else saying in on Twitter. Zach, what's the chat saying here? Are you in or out on Caleb Farley living up to his first-round potential?
I actually think this is kind of the timing of this question is kind of perfect, right? Because he hasn't played much football. I'm tired of saying that. But he also has a lot more football that he could play, right? So, but the Titans aren't willing to let him play football. So,
they couldn't afford to against the Raiders. I think we understand that situation. You can't afford to play. The Titans felt like they couldn't afford to play him against the Raiders.
But again, when are they going to be able to afford it?
No, yeah, I'm with you. Every week's big in the NFL, especially when you start 0-2.
And especially when the Jags are winning the way that the Jags are winning. G-Man says out. Ryan says in. Still in 100% from Steven. Very out from Tighten Up. Way out from Assad. Big in from MF Loco. Wow. So that you got way out and big in. That means that we've asked the right question.
Yeah. Or those two people are just kind of crazy.
Bama Brad says out. Let's see. Fire says in. Dwayne says out. Scott says out. Farley is a bust. So Brian is out. Eric is in. Tyler is out. Jody and Patrick and Matthew and Amar are still in. So is Jake. Nick's going all out caps for me, out. Alex says out. Trevor says in. Xavier says in. All the way in there from Fire. He already voted. In. Patience from Stephen King. Very in from Nas. Out from Caleb, not Farley. He's a bust. Hot Doobie says in. In from Mike. So, look, I think, again, it justifies that this is a good question. And Max says, coach him the F up, I'm in. And that's kind of what Mike Vrabel is saying, is that we just need more time to coach him. They were unable to coach him when they drafted him because of his back injury. Then they were unable to coach him after he tore his ACL last year in his first start of his career.
Yeah.
That healed up, and they were able to coach him in training camp, but that coaching has not took.
Yeah, like Joe Rexroad from The Athletic led off the string of Caleb Farley questions that lasted over 4 minutes in the press conference yesterday with something like, is it not translating from the practice field into the game for Caleb? Because I think if you asked, I'm not saying every Titans media member who was at training camp, but if you asked almost all their answers would be that, yeah, Farley had a good camp. Like, he was solid. Like, you get beat. Training camp, you win days and you lose days. And that's everybody. Doesn't matter unless you're Derrick Henry in a sand pit, because he doesn't lose days in a sand pit. But, like, everybody loses reps in training camp and wins reps. Like, there were so many times in training camp where Farley was getting his hand on a football because of how long he is. Like, it was just a tight – he made windows extra tight in man coverage because of his length and his ability to close. And so you felt good. There were mental busts and coverages in camp that led to the emergence of Racey McMath. It led to other guys making plays down the field over him. Zach, I'm still in on Caleb Farley. it's just too early in his football life. And I say football life.
Been saying that for a while.
Right, because it's like he's still in like high school years of experience. Like Roger
That's
McCreary.
the Titans' fault.
Yes, it is. Roger McCreary is the exact opposite of Caleb Farley. Roger McCreary is the undersized guy who has been playing with a chip on his shoulder and been playing the cornerback position his entire life. And he went to Auburn. It was a badass at Auburn, and he was a top 35 pick in the NFL because the Titans liked what he was right now as an experienced corner. Caleb Farley was a wide receiver up into his second year at Virginia Tech. And so there's just a big difference in running forwards and running backwards for a living. And so Caleb Farley's having to change up. This isn't going from a left tackle to a right tackle or offensive lineman to a defensive lineman. This is a wide receiver to a corner is so different. And because of the amount of surgeries that he's racked up over the last 4 years, he hasn't been able to, because he tore his ACL in college. Then he had one back surgery. Then he had two back surgeries. Then he tore another ACL. So there's at least 4 surgeries that we know of in the last 5 years. His football life is too young. His skill set is impressive. Look at his last year at Virginia Tech. He was a baller in the ACC playing corner. He was making plays in man coverage all over the place. And Daffs on YouTube says, and the Titans knew this. But we also have to remember where the Titans were in their franchise when they picked him. He was a luxury pick at that spot because the Titans picked him 22nd after winning the division and losing a home playoff game. They felt comfortable in a lot of the other areas on the team. They still had a Dory Jackson, right? They still had some of these other guys at that position. They still had a young Christian Fulton that they liked a lot. And Caleb Farley was a luxury draft pick, and it didn't work out. And it hasn't worked out up until now. But I still feel like I'm in on the potential for him.
Well, luxury draft pick. Let's actually look at what they did, because hindsight's 2020. So I'm not going to sit here and act like, oh, well, we all knew this, because you don't know. But the fact of the matter is they took the wrong approach. They may have said luxury, but Corey Davis was with the Jets by this time. And so they took the approach to draft 2 late round wide receivers, and one of them sucked.
Oh, and Zach, believe me, I was screaming the loudest, I felt like, about you cannot wait too long to draft a wide receiver. I said you had to draft in that draft. I said you had to draft a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. And we'll talk about Dylan Radins another day because he's been even worse than Caleb Farley.
Well, and the funny part is, and I just like I call your ass out all the time for being wrong, and because I got a fucking memory bank, excuse me. This is a credit to you. Rashad Bateman is killing it.
Yes. It took him
killing it.
It took him a year.
But did you see the Ravens game a couple weeks ago? And this was, I will credit you, Austin. You were screaming about Bateman. I was unsure about Bateman. You wanted Bateman as the pick.
I did. And let's pull up this graphic, right? We labeled Bateman as an X on this, and it was just after 1 year. And
it was too early.
It was too early. Rashad Bateman's good. And I was right on that. I was screaming Rashad Bateman or Elijah Moore. Bateman would have been the pick. But I was okay with the Farley pick because I understood the logic behind it. The Dylan Radins pick made me pull my hair out. And that's a different story. But yes, if the Titans drafted,
well now that looks worse, right? Because you've missed on 2.
Yeah, but if the Titans didn't draft Caleb Farley and they drafted Rashad Bateman, you still have the same problem on defense.
Right, but again, you're in a completely different situation because you don't know what's going to happen with A.J. Brown, right? So that is the changing scenario of what your offense looks like if, in fact, you draft a wide receiver maybe instead of Farley. So let me reset because, yeah, again, we all just talked about hindsight. It's a lot easier to look back and be like, man, well, they should have drafted Mike Williams instead of Corey Davis, right? Like, I mean, that's easy. John Brown, nobody should have drafted John Brown.
That was your guy.
Yeah. Speed killed, but that killed me. Ask me the question that we asked everybody.
Are you in or out on Caleb Farley living up to his first round potential?
That last part I am out on. I do not think that he can live up to his first round potential. I do still think he can be a good corner or a better corner, but he will not be able to be, they were talking about him without the back surgery, that he would have been drafted, right around J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain II.
8 to 12. It was that range, right? Where the other corners went, and that he would have been the first corner potentially.
Right. So I'm out. There's no way that he's going to live up to Patrick Surtain. That guy, I watched that guy in Denver. He's good. He's long. He's lengthy. He's athletic. He's played football. They trust him to play football. He rarely comes off the field. Like, that is the opposite of what Caleb Farley is now. And one of the reasons why I'm out is that Mike Vrabel has kind of told me, because he's got to do two things, Austin. He's got to get better on the field, and he has to earn the head coach's trust. That's an uphill battle. And I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Not at least probably as a Tennessee Titan. He may I don't know how long his career is going to be. He may go on to play for multiple teams, whatever. I just don't see a shift in the next, 2 years, 2 seasons, that he's just going to be like, and Vrabel's going to be like, yep, he's all right. And I think somebody had this earlier. I cannot remember who it was. Basically said that first round is an anchor around his neck. And that's why he's struggling, is because that is the reason why I'm out on him, is that first round anchor that he's unable to take off his neck. And that's just where he's drafted. So I'm out on that altogether. I'm not out on him as a football player or as a cornerback, but if you're a first round draft pick, you got to be good.
Well, I think it's not exactly perfect, but I've seen some Titans fans on Twitter mention a cornerback that you hope Caleb Farley can emulate a little bit, and that's Jeff Okudah of the Lions. Jeff Okudah was drafted 3rd overall by the Lions in 2019. He was not great as a rookie. Now the Lions sucked, right? So we have to understand that he was not great on a bad team. Then he tore his Achilles in his second year early. And so that set him back. And then now he's coming up and he is living up to being a top 5 draft pick this year with the Lions. Like, Jeff Okudah is how you would like Caleb Farley to bounce back. And I just don't think the difference that Jeff Okudah was a top 5 pick automatically, Caleb Farley was not, and also coming off an injury.
Yeah, 2 years is the difference. He's 2 years behind, and he's really 3 years behind because of what we said at Virginia Tech. This man is 3 years behind the 8 ball, and the year that he is able to play, his team is not playing him. They're going to pick 7th rounders off the street to play in front of him.
Well, he was Terrence Mitchell was on the Patriots practice squad, so he wasn't on the street. But no, I get it. And Mike Vrabel in a lose-lose situation to make this decision to play Terrence Mitchell over Caleb Farley. But I do want to show this because here's Football and Other F-Words put this together. The Titans coverage stats for these two guys, right? Farley's played in 3 games, really 2, and just 1 snap in Sundays. Mitchell in 1 game. I mean, would Caleb Farley been that much worse than Terrence Mitchell?
I think that's kind of the mystery of what we're talking about right now, right? Is logically that makes no sense.
Right. I mean, 6 catches on 8 targets for 102 yards and a potential game-tying touchdown on Terrence Mitchell in 1 game. And Farley was not as bad in 2 games as Terrence Mitchell was. Now,
well, you're worried more about Farley than you are Mitchell as far as mental, right? So you can't, if Farley goes out there and gets roasted for 225 yards by a superior wide receiver. And look, Matt Collins is not even the best wide receiver on the Las Vegas Raiders.
No,
Right? Don't get that twisted.
Look, I think the Titans deserve credit for holding Devontae Adams under 40 yards receiving.
Yes.
That's impressive. Now, if you sell out to stop something, you're going to give up things in other places. And they gave up things to Matt Collins because they left Terrence Mitchell on an island out there against Matt Collins.
So quickly, before we move on, Denise, play Farley. He needs to be ready. Do you think the Titans will do that this week?
It's Tuesday. We don't know the injury report until tomorrow. I want to see Ugo Amadi. If Ugo Amadi, because Terrence Mitchell also didn't get cut yesterday. The Titans cut their edge rusher who was sucked on Sunday too, but Terrence Mitchell's still on the team. I think Farley probably plays 20% of the snaps against the Colts,
which is a lot more.
Yeah, it's a lot more. I think he's going to play a little bit more. So
I think he has to. You have to. You set him back. You gotta at least slowly get him to where he has to be as a first-round pick. Long season, but not starting off real well.
Right now, Farley does not need to be higher than 4th when it comes to your corners. It needs to go McCree, Fulton, then whoever your number 1 nickel guy is, and then Farley. That's just what the situation needs to be.
A single digit dude.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like a single digit dude.
So I told you he needs to earn that single digit. Don't just give the guy a number 3 coming out of the draft.
First round pick.
All right.
That's that anchor. The anchor is not around his neck. It's on his chest and on his back. That's the anchor. It's that 3.
That's right. Let's get to Tuesday sports trivia. We've got 10 questions coming up, and we need everybody's help to get. Can we go back-to-back 9-1? I want to see if we can go back-to-back 9-1. We got 10 trivia questions coming up, but Zach, tell us all about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yeah, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com. They're hooking you up, whether it's the Palisade or it's the Sonata or it's the Tucson or it's the Santa Fe. I mean, they have your perfect make and model. You just have to go visit Wilson County Hyundai, a quick trip down I-40, exit 236. That's exit 236. Both Austin and I have test driven tons of vehicles from there over the last several years, including the Palisade, which has it's a full-size SUV with 3rd row seating. It is sweet. It is awesome. You got to go test drive that bad boy. All the bells and whistles, including sport mode, snow mode. They got traction, normal mode. I mean, they have it all. And it is awesome. So go to Wilson County Hyundai. Then you can go to WilsonCountyHyundai.com, look at their inventory, either before or after. It doesn't really matter. And purchase your next car, if you're in the market for that, at WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Don't forget, download the BetMGM app, and when you do it, use our code ATOZ Sports, and you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on your first bet on pro football. After that first deposit, it's easy enough right there. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualifications and eligibility requirement. Rewards issued with knowledgeable for bets or site credit for bets expiring 7 days. For problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. All right, Tuesday sports trivia. We are at 70% through 2 weeks. We had 5-5 in week 1, 9-1 in week 2. So let's try to replicate the 9-1 and not the 5-5. So 7 sports questions, 3 non-sports. Zach, you said astronomy is the 3 non-sports questions category.
It is.
All right.
It is.
So let's hit it up. One rule: no Googling. No
Googling whatsoever. We are going to start out with Oklahoma State trivia. Oklahoma State has produced a number of consensus All-Americans at running back. Who was the school's first at that position? Bob Finnemore, John Ward, Terry Miller, or Darrell Goforth? Oklahoma State has produced a number of consensus All-Americans at running back. Who was the school's first at that particular position? Bob Finnemore, John Ward, Terry Miller, or Daryl Goforth?
Yeah, it's not Barry Sanders, Ed.
No, that's kind of the most notorious one.
Cam says Ward. I do not know. I've never heard of those four names, minus John Ward being the greatest radio voice of all time. Orlando says Miller as a wild guess. Trying to wait. Yeah, we're getting some passes.
They're not all easy, guys.
No. All right. I'm trying to just see if there's anybody who has any idea.
Well, Oklahoma State is like the unique, it's middle America and it's not Oklahoma, right? So they always play second fiddle because Oklahoma is a powerhouse. Oklahoma State always loses to Oklahoma to prevent them from having a successful season. But back in the day, I have no idea about the history. So we need to
let's go forth because it's random as hell. We'll go forward with go forth. Final A to Z.
An All-American in 1944. In 1945 was named a consensus All-American. That year finished third in the Heisman voting, Bob Finnemore. Goforth did it in 1976.
At least Goforth was a consistent All-American. So, all right, 0-1. We'll climb out of this hole.
Who was Chris Webber originally drafted by? So early on, before he gave to the Kings, he played for the Warriors and then he played for the Bullets. But it's not the Kings. It's not the 76ers. It's either the Bullets or
I think it was the Warriors.
I think it was the Warriors.
We're getting, Ed says Washington. Brent says Orlando Magic, and he was traded for Penny Hardaway.
Oh, Orlando. That actually seems correct, Caleb. Because, I'm thinking about him in a jersey, and he would never have worn that.
It's like the Kobe Bryant, who drafted Kobe kind of thing.
Hornets.
So we're going to go with Orlando. We'll go Orlando final A to Z.
Let's see here. Number 6, the Orlando Magic immediately traded for Penny Hardaway in 1993.
Man, good job, Caleb. All right, 1-1.
Who was the first man to run a sub 4-minute mile?
Roger Bannister.
Is that correct?
Do you have options?
No, it's a fill-in.
Oh, damn.
Again, some of these do have options, and some of them are just fill-ins.
I think it's Roger Bannister. Let's see if I get anybody else as the chat catches up. Ed says correct. Roger, I think it's Roger Bannister.
John Ross.
That's funny. I'm correct. Roger Bannister, final A to Z.
Englishman. Roger Bannister.
Boom. How about that, baby?
Accomplished this feat May 6, 1954, while running in Oxford, England, precisely 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds.
The reason why I know that is because one of my best friends in high school tried to do it right after we graduated high school and came in at 4:04.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, moving. 2-1.
How many points did Andre Iguodala score in the 2006 T-Mobile Rookie Challenge? 26, 30, 21, or 37? How many points did Andre Iguodala score in the 2006 T-Mobile Rookie Challenge? I mean, this is the epitome of a trivia question. 26, 30, 21, or 37 are the choices. Iguodala was playing for the 76ers at the time.
I mean, we just guess a number. Like, nobody's going to recall what happened in this thing. Donald says 37. Otherwise, it wouldn't be noteworthy. Valentino says 30. So, and then we're getting some. Cam says go in the middle with 30. Brad says 30.
Well, 26, 30, 21, and 37.
21. Nobody would give a damn if it was 21 or 26. So people are saying 30 or 37.
We need to lock this in.
Let's go. I think we're getting a lot more 37s than we are 30. So let's go 37 final A to Z.
This Philadelphia 76er was also named the MVP after scoring 30 points
Bummer.
in the 2006 T-Mobile Rookie Challenge.
2-2.
Ugh. Next question. I mean, this is a really, really hard question. We'll go to another hard one, but not that one. What university is home to the country's oldest consecutively run NCAA men's cross-country meets?
Orlando was just talking about how he ran cross country.
Okay. Penn State, Harvard, Oklahoma State, or Indiana? What university is home to the country's oldest consecutively run NCAA men's cross-country meet?
This has got to be Ivy League all over it, right?
Penn State, Harvard, Oklahoma State, or Indiana? I mean, so this is where I don't know if it's a trick, and this is, I will fully disclose this. And we could play this game or not play this game. Oklahoma State, and sometimes they have these themed questions. We had an Oklahoma State earlier. It is a themed Oklahoma State trivia, but sometimes they fool you.
Harvard sounds right, people are saying.
Again, I could go the trickery of Oklahoma State, or I mean, the Ivy League makes more logical sense.
Cross country is an old college sport. I don't even know how old Oklahoma State University is.
I don't either.
Like and it's not Penn, it's Penn State.
Oh,
right?
Wait, never mind. Okay, so this is a cross country quiz. The other one, this is not the Oklahoma State themed one. So forget what I just said. I'm glad that I know.
So it's Penn State, right? Not Penn?
Penn State, Harvard, Oklahoma State, or Indiana?
I think it's got to be Harvard.
That's the oldest university.
Indiana feels like a good option, though.
We need to lock in.
All right, let's go. Yeah, I agree with S. Smith. Harvard seems like the sucker's answer. Let's go. Indiana final A to Z.
Oh, damn. The Cowboy Jamboree.
So it is Oklahoma State.
First held in 1937. The next oldest is the Aztec Invitational. I like these names. By San Diego State University. It began in 1943. So the Cowboy Jamboree, the correct answer is Oklahoma State.
So cross country not as old as I thought it was. So 2 and 3. We gotta hustle up here. 2 and 3.
Who was the fourth Seattle Supersonic to score 50 points in a game? Ray Allen, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, or Rashard Lewis? My gut is Rashard Lewis.
It has to be Rashard Lewis because, well,
no, it doesn't have to be. The Sonics won an NBA title like in the 70s.
Yeah.
Who was the fourth Sonic to score 50 points in a game? Ray Allen, Sean Kemp, my guy, Gary Payton, or Rashard Lewis? I know Rashard Lewis did it. I don't know if Sean Kemp or Gary Payton did. I don't think Sean Kemp scored 50 points. I know for a fact, I think Rashard Lewis scored 51.
Yeah, Rashard Lewis was a beast there for a few years.
Corner threes. I'm saying screw it. I'm taking this over.
That's fine.
I'm going Rashard Lewis because of my gut, knowing that he scored 50 points. And I'm a Seattle Supersonics fan. So
RIP.
I'm going.
All right, lock it in.
I'm locking it in. Final A to Z. And I'll take it if I'm wrong. Against the LA Clippers in Japan on October 31st, 2003, Rashard Lewis scored 50 points.
All right.
So now I got to figure out how many. I got to do
We're 3-3. You figure out how many, because we got 4 questions left, and we honestly have to hit all 4 of these. I'm sorry. Yeah, 4 questions left. We need all 4 of them. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, check them out in Franklin. Over a dozen doctors specialize in any type of joint injury you could possibly have. Boneandjointtn.org. Did you have time to figure it out?
exactly 50.
Okay. All right.
Man, so there we go. Maybe that momentum will push us to where we need to go.
All right, 3-3. We got to close strong.
This is the final sports question.
That's right.
Oh, man, that one's a really hard one. Do you want a really hard one or?
No, we don't need the really hard one. We're playing to win, not playing to be cool. We're not trying to puff our chests out right now. We're 3-3.
Which high school player was the highest selected in the 2000 NBA draft? Which high school player was the highest selected in the 2000 NBA draft? Jamal Crawford, Joe Johnson, Kwame Brown, or Darius Miles? Now, I know Kwame Brown was drafted out of high school.
But that was like 2001, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think Darius Miles was also drafted out of high school.
Yeah, he was.
So my guess is it's either Kwame Brown or Darius Miles. I think you're right, though. I think Kwame Brown was drafted in the 2001 NBA draft.
Because didn't Jordan draft him?
Yes, for the Wizards.
Darius Miles, we're getting Titans Kyle says Darius Miles, lock it in. Noah says Darius Miles, but the Clippers third. I think it was because Kwame Brown was a number 1 pick, but I don't think it was 2000.
Do we want to lock that in?
I said we go Darius Miles, final A to Z. Yeah.
Out of Lincoln High School, the Los Angeles Clippers select Darius Miles 3rd overall in the 2000 NBA draft.
Yeah. There you go.
That was good teamwork, right?
We needed that. 4-3.
All right, 4-3. We now start our space trivia. And the reason why we're doing space trivia was last night, Jupiter was the closest to Earth in 59 years. And I'm starting this out with a Jupiter question.
Okay.
Jupiter has 4 moons, as I told you this at the beginning. Which of Jupiter's 4 moons has 400 active volcanoes? Is it Callisto, Europa, Io, or Ganymede? 400 active volcanoes. Callisto, Europa, Io, or Ganymede?
Ed comes in with Europa real quick. Valentino says space is not real.
Valentino is living in another world.
Yeah, Ed was really quick on that Europa.
I mean, Ed is trustworthy.
Let's go Europa. Final A to Z Europa. No.
Io is the most volcanically active body in the solar system.
Okay.
Mercury.
Orlando. Oh, I was the only one. You're late, Orlando. What the hell was that all about?
Mercury has a blank. Ring, ocean, tail, or halo. Mercury has a blank. A ring, an ocean, a tail, or a halo. What is our total?
4-4.
This is not good. We got to get the next two. So it's not a ring.
Yeah, I think it's a halo.
I want to say it's a halo as well.
Now we're getting some tail.
Uh-oh.
Jason says ocean, but halo is also coming in here because it's Mercury.
Saturn obviously has the rings. A tail.
I think it's a halo because it's so close to the sun. It needs a halo to protect. Now, Brad says 100% a tail.
Anybody that says 100%, we're not 100%.
No, I say,
Brad?
Look, we're going to put all of this on Brad Anderson. 100% tail, final A to Z tail.
Check out the big brains on Brad.
Hey.
Mercury's gravity is too weak to hold a permanent atmosphere. So when atoms are evaporated from the planet's surface by solar phantons and other processes, some of the atoms form a tail that points away from the sun.
Interesting. Okay.
Brad.
All right. 5-4. Brad, stick around. We might need you here too. Last question.
Which planet has a two-tone moon? Which planet has a two-tone moon? Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, or Saturn? Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, or Saturn?
Brad, what you think?
Which planet has a two-tone moon? I feel like Saturn. Neptune. Nobody talks about Neptune.
Brad says Saturn. Learned about it in college.
Do we want to go back-to-back Brads?
Liz says Saturn has Titan. Is Titan moon a two-tone moon?
That's good stuff right there.
And then Chris says Pluto's not a planet, so we can eliminate Pluto. But let's go Saturn because of Brad. Hopefully it's Titan. Go all right, Saturn final A to Z.
Back-to-back Brad comes through. Saturn's moon, Lepidus, is a study in contrast with a very dark hemisphere and a very light hemisphere, unlike anything else in the solar system.
All right, so
that was clutch.
The most volcanic surface in the galaxy is Io. Outside of Jupiter, moon from Jupiter. And then Saturn has the two-tone, what was it called?
The two-tone moon, Lepidus.
All right, so remember that for the next time you play trivia at a bar.
That was a strong finish.
Yeah, Brad's like, thank God I took that elective that year in college.
I mean, today's show, that trivia save goes to Brad.
Yeah, I agree. 6-4. Not great, but a lot better than it could have been. And Mercury has a tail.
So where are we at?
Well, quick math tells us that we are 20 out of 30, which means we are 66%.
Far away from 80.
Yeah, we got work.
We need more 9 and 1s.
Yes, we do. And less 6 and 4s or less. So, all right, that'll do it for us on a Tuesday. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. We'll see what happens in Titans world today. But also, don't forget, A to Z Sports Primetime is live with Buck Rising tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time on these same channels. So check that out. Also, the podcast network, Big Orange Podcast, posted yesterday a big episode after the Vols beat Florida and jump in the top 8. So we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Wednesday morning. Talk to you later. Have a good weekend. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.